1. This fuck up happened about 2 days ago, and it might have been the most embarrassing thing to ever happen to me. But first, here's a little backstory. I'm 17 years old, about to graduate high school, and ever since about a year ago, I've wanted to enlist in the United States Coast Guard right after I graduate. The next step in my process to enlisting is to go to a place called MEPS, Military Entrance Processing Station. Here at MEPS, they take your ASVAB and physical. The ASVAB is essentially an aptitude test to determine what jobs you qualify for in your corresponding branch, whether it be Marines, Air Force, Navy, etc. It's a 2-day process. Day 1 you take the ASVAB, and Day 2 you take your physical, and depending on what branch you go into, you officially swear in and select your jobs and ship out date. Today was Day 2, so I woke up at 4:30 AM and got ready for a long day of hurry up and waiting. Now, for some reason, my bladder does not like to work when I'm around people, so whenever I have to use public restrooms, I wait to use the stall because that's the only place I can seem to get the flow going. Weeks ago, when I found out I had to go to MEPS to get a physical done, I did some research to make sure I knew what to expect. One step in the process is a drug test. Now, this drug test isn't your ordinary drug test. They make you pull your pants down, pee into a cup, while they stare directly at your junk to make sure you don't try to pull a fast one and use someone else's urine. So, knowing that I would have to face my fears, not only peeing in a urinal next to someone, I had to do it with an officer staring directly at me and my exposed lower half. When I woke up in the hotel, I drank 3 full 38-ounce smart water-sized bottles to prepare for the test. Now, my mistake was underestimating how fast water flows through my body into my bladder, and eventually fills up. So we go through the process of hearing checks, colorblind test, check all your nooks and crannies to make sure everything's intact. All the usual tests they have you do at the doctor's office to get a sports physical. Fast forward to about 7 AM, and I'm already feeling like I need to use the bathroom. But knowing that I won't be able to drink any more water until after my urine test, I had no other option than to hold it in for as long as I could. Once I got all my basic tests done, I was sent to a classroom type area where they do the debriefing and signing of the paperwork, so they have permission to draw your blood and take a urine sample to test for drugs. It was about 9 AM at this point, and the instructor is still going over the presentation, going on about, if you've used or smoked any drugs in the past 30 to 60 days, walk out the door and save yourself the wasted time, etc. It got to the point where my abdomen area ached so bad, I couldn't move a muscle without this excruciating pain in my bladder. I wasn't even able to do the leg shaking pee dance to numb the feeling away. I was starting to feel extremely lightheaded, and felt my head getting hotter and hotter as the minute passed with sweat dripping down the side of my face. It got to about 9:45 AM, and I couldn't take it any longer. About 40 guys were sitting in desks next to me, as the guy who's doing the briefing points to me and goes, "Boy, are you alright? You look like you're damn well about to pass out." And I respond saying, "No sir, is there any way I could take the urine test right now? I really need to use the restroom." He walks up to me as the whole classroom is staring at me in hilarity, as this man directs me out of the room and rushes me to the area where we're supposed to wait to take the sample. He tells the sergeant in the bathroom that I need to take the sample now, or else I'm going to faint. I quickly take my pants off and pee into this sample cup. But I keep going, and going, for about a minute straight as he looks over and says, "Son, you're still going?" It was about the most satisfying feeling in my entire life. It was 10 times the feeling of finally popping that zit you've been eyeing for days, better than peeling off the plastic of a new phone, or removing those socks you've had on for the whole day. Once I gave him my cup was when I looked into the mirror and saw how astoundingly pale I was, to the point where the bags under my eyes looked like the black patches football players place under their eyes to block the sun. Right after, I asked for some water because I knew that would help. However, there were no cups anywhere in sight, and I wasn't allowed to leave the room until he was finished processing the sample. He told me I had no other option than to take one of the, not used, sample cups off the counter and fill it up with water to drink out of. He asks me if I need to lie down or anything, but since this is where I'm supposed to prove that I'm healthy and in good condition to join the military, I refuse in case that hindered my ability to join. After about 5 minutes of leaning on the counter, getting my consciousness, I tell him that I'm good and able to continue on with the day. He has one of the doctors walk with me back to the classroom, where they're still getting briefed and signing the stacks of papers. I open the door and everyone stares at me grinning, but on the inside, I know they're the ones that are about to be miserable, needing to piss after having to wait another 2 hours before the test. 2. This actually happened today. I'm on a 2-week trip to Japan, visiting from Canada. I have wanted to come for a long time, and I'm generally an adventurous guy. I would rather go into a place packed with locals instead of somewhere geared towards tourists. I was walking the streets of Shinjuku and wanted to try my hand at some pachinko. I see a parlor filled with locals and head on in. I find a machine I like, take a seat, and pop 5,000 yen in. I can't understand any of the instructions, but I've played slots before, how different can it be? I keep ending up on the start menu and can't get off. None of the buttons are doing anything. I try to copy other people, but no one is really touching the machines. There's some sort of handle on the front, so I grab it, swing it around hoping something will move, but no. No staff around to help. I'm getting awkward looks. I panic a little and decide to just press every button until it goes. Big mistake. Suddenly, hundreds of small steel balls begin to rain out of the handle thing, directly onto the floor. These things start bouncing all over the damn place, hitting people around me. Everyone is staring now. I start cupping my hands and pouring them into this little tray handful by handful. But it is ridiculously ineffective. For some reason, I can't stop laughing. Tears are rolling down my face as I howl like a maniac and furiously shovel steel balls into the machine. But the rain is just not ending. The people around me are visibly angry. I panic and laugh harder. I turn and see a staff member staring in awe, and I scream through my laughter, "What am I doing?" The staff member snaps out of it and moves the handle an inch over into the tray. The nightmare is over. That's all it took. I shamefully try to clean up as many steel balls around me as everyone shakes their heads. There's just too many. So I pull the chute. I go around the corner to the next row of machines and pretend it never happened. I went on to win my money back, along with 2 beers and 1 piece of candy. 3. Unlike most TIFUs, this is actually happening right now. I'm waiting for the RA to come let me in. Some relevant background info. I'm in a dorm room I got because of a programming internship thing. Most of the people here are pretty straight-edged and are not the type to smoke weed, and I am sick. I think I have strep throat, but that's probably just me being a hypochondriac. And I actually just have a weird cold. The sore throat from this cold has lasted 3 days, and my throat has been killing me for the past 12 hours. I really just want something to make my throat not hurt. For the past 2 nights, I've used cough drops and no problem, watching Code Geass and sleeping. But I got new cough drops when I woke up around noon, and they were not doing shit. I don't know if I bought the shitty kind of cough drops or what, but they taste fucking delicious, and they don't help at all. Like, since I woke up today, my throat has been in pain, and it's steadily gotten worse throughout the day, to the point that right now as I'm typing this, I am spitting saliva into a cup so I don't have to swallow because my throat hurts so much. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The TIFU really started after I finished playing Melee with my roommates a few hours ago. And I said, fuck it, I'm gonna smoke some goddamn weed to help my throat. Now, Obviously, the idea of inhaling burning, acrid smoke full of THC through your throbbing trachea, so tender that you can't swallow, isn't a good idea. But I like weed, and I've established a fucking ritual of smoking before and after I play Melee with my roommates over the past 9 months. And I'm just a fucking idiot. Okay, anywho, after stumbling through the dark, unfamiliar campus, just moved here, with my phone and a bag containing a bong, a bottle of water, a lighter, and some goddamn weed, I eventually found a creepy spot under a highway overpass kind of thing, on some random corner of campus. After scouting it out, I smoked like some creepy underpass meth goblin. I immediately felt weird smoking by myself under a bridge, in the complete dark, in a city I moved into like 2 days ago. But I had already made the long trek, so I started smoking. My throat hurt a little at first, but I kept going, until 2 bowls later I was about to throw up, my throat hurt so badly. I immediately stopped smoking and made my way back to my dorm room, where I was accosted by my roommate. He was rambling about some bullshit. I had borrowed his key card since I had already lost mine, so he started to talk about locking himself out of his room last week. And what to do if I locked myself out of my room. I was starting to really feel the weed kick in, so I kind of pretend to listen and focused on not acting high, as I really don't think this guy would be cool with me smoking weed. I managed to slip into my room while he kept talking, so I could watch some Disguised Toast stream some fighting game that is definitely not Hearthstone. Battlefield Player Unknown, maybe. But like, all one word. Anyway, while watching, my throat was slowly hurting more and more, and at this point, the high is here and I am fairly baked. I came up with the brilliant idea of holding my mouth open like a dog and letting the slobber run off my tongue into a cup, thereby preventing me from swallowing, which was just fucking racking me with pain. After like an hour of watching Twitch, I realized I wanted to jerk the gherkin, so I locked my door, turned off the lights, and went to town. After finishing, I went to the bathroom to pee and wash my hands, because I'm not a fucking savage, and then I walked back to my room, only to realize I fucking locked myself out. I had done the exact thing my roommate had just been warning me about. Anyway, I luckily had my phone on me, browsing Reddit while in the bathroom. So I called the RA on duty and she's on her way here. Right now I am standing outside my dorm room in my boxers, with my tongue hanging out and slobber drooling into a cup, high as something other than a kite, and with a faint miasma of pot and cum hovering about me. I just can't wait to meet my RA. 4. This unfortunate chain of events actually did happen today. I'm eating the mediocre results as I type this, and drinking something very strong. I'd like to preface this by saying I'm actually a really good cook. I'm no Gordon Ramsay, but I can hold my own. Mummy Dearest informs me via text that she took out some salmon to thaw for dinner. Great, I thought. I'll make something a little nicer than usual for the 2 of us tonight. So I come downstairs to see these nice packaged, thawed pieces of salmon sitting on the counter. I open the packages and get fish juice all over the counter. Whatever, I'll wipe it up later. I decided to try and take the skin off one of the pieces of salmon, because I'd never done it before and wanted to see how it cooked differently. So I opened my cutlery drawer to take out a knife, and immediately stabbed myself in the hand. Not just a scratch, no, I was bleeding like a motherfucker. Great. Took a good 5 minutes to patch myself up and resumed cooking. Took me way longer than it should have to peel the skin off the first piece, and I didn't bother with the second one. Also, quick tip, don't take the skin off. Found a recipe on BuzzFeed for honey glazed salmon with a brown butter and lime sauce, and figure, well, damn, sounds good to me. As I'm making brown butter, I get a text from an old friend from high school that I haven't seen in a while. I'm texting her and sending emojis, etc, etc, etc. When I notice a burnt smell in the air. Completely fucking burnt the butter away to nothing. Fuck up 2 of many. So I restart the brown butter and do it right this time and set it aside. Then I notice I don't have any limes. No worries, lemons will do. So I just half a lemon, stir it into the brown butter, and move on with the salmon. Except there were like 7 more steps and 3 more ingredients to that sauce. But I'm a moron and wasn't paying attention. Ended up throwing it out. Whatever, salmon. The recipe says to coat each piece in a tablespoon of flour and honey, respectively. I do that, make a fucking mess, whatever. Sear each side for about a minute, then place in a 400-degree oven for about 8 minutes. Did I preheat my oven beforehand? No, because as we've established, I'm a moron. Turn my oven on, slap the salmon in the pan, which I did preheat thankfully, and sear it while my oven heats up. Is approximately 2 minutes enough for an oven to preheat? No. Do I give a single fuck at this point? No. So my pan goes in the oven. My counters are a disgusting mess, covered in salmon juice, pieces of skin, lemon juice, spilled flour, honey, and who fucking knows what else. So I decide to make a side dish. What do I have in my fridge? Asparagus. Great. Pasta and asparagus with a nice lemon sauce to pair well with the salmon. Fucking awesome. So I pull out the asparagus, dropping an entire bag of Brussels sprouts on the ground as I do so. Spend the next few minutes fighting my Westie for the Brussels sprouts, trying to clean up my mess. Oh, I'll boil the pasta first so it's ready to go. Sure, who can fuck up pasta, right? Water, pot, salt, boil it, put in pasta, take pasta off, strain it. Place strainer over a bowl way too small to hold it. Bowl tips over, pasta gets covered in all the gross shit on my counter. Tried to hold back tears. Clean up pasta, start again. Don't fuck up this time. Recipe says to save a cup of pasta water to help bind the sauce later. Do I do this every time I make pasta? Yes. Did I do it this time? No. Salmon is done in the oven. I carefully put oven gloves on to take it out of the pan. Take off my oven gloves to take the lid off the pan, burn my hands. Watch the blisters bubble as I run them under cold water. Do not cry. Time to cook the asparagus. I Google how to boil asparagus because I have literally no confidence left in myself as a human being at this point. Asparagus bunch up too close to each other in the pan, so I use my fingers to rearrange them in the boiling water because, again, I'm a moron. Back under the cold tap. Still did not cry. Asparagus is cooked. Pasta is cooked. Time for sauce. I follow the recipe to a T, minus the pasta water. And put in a quarter cup of regular water because my brain tells me to replace the pasta water with that. Sauce looks too thin. Okay, I'll boil it down. I transfer it all, pasta, asparagus, sauce, to the large, shallow skillet I use to cook the asparagus, and let it come to a boil. I'm still a moron, and the pasta sticks to the skillet, coming apart as I try to scrape it up. I manage to salvage something edible out of that, and plate myself a piece of salmon and a helping of my sad pasta. I burn my other hand on the lid of the pan of salmon. I put some of the dishes from the counter into the dishwasher to get a head start on cleaning up. I then go to put the olive oil away in the pantry and trip over the open dishwasher, cutting my leg on the corner. After slapping a few band-aids over that, I sit down to my sad meal. I have not cried through this whole ordeal. I go to squeeze a lemon wedge over my salmon. Some squirts onto my face and drips down over some acne on my face. I cry. 5. Today I fucked up by trying to be a tickle monster. I have 2 sons right now, one 3 years old and the other a year and a half. My eldest has been complaining about bees in his mouth for a couple of hours and was crying really badly. He was absolutely terrified but exhibited no symptoms of any bee stinging. Bite mark or indication that he had been hurt, either from himself or something else. My wife started to do some research, and we made a guesstimation that he was exhibiting some hallucinogenic stuff. Further research pointed out a possible antihistamine allergic reaction. We're not sure exactly what caused it, but we do know that he was terrified. My wife figured to drive around with him to see if we could calm him down. I volunteered to watch the other one since we had just made pizza and he was hungry. After they left, my youngest son and I hung out eating pizza and watching TV. I noticed that he was wet behind his pants, a common sign as a parent that a child has gone to the toilet. I took the initiative and snapped him up playfully. He was laughing and kicking his feet, and it was a great hallmark moment. The type you think back on as a parent and smile. You feel warm inside. That coziness of a moment shared between two people who love each other. It was like that until I tried to change his diaper. Then it was as if someone took that moment and decided to put a tornado right in the middle of it, destroying the image and turning it into a nightmare. This nightmare started when I grabbed my son's pants by his waistband, in full tickle mode. I yanked back, and I felt I had done something wrong before I saw it. By felt, I mean the spray of projectile shit that had been stuck to his pants and flung upwards by my enthusiastic display of being a tickle monster. I felt it hit my bottom lip first, followed by my chest, leg, and ankle. I looked out from my seemingly distant body and saw little pebbles of poo scatter around, no bigger than pencil shavings. A mound of it stuck to the side and became the target of my fixation. It called me back to reality forcefully as I vomited. I somehow managed to keep it in my mouth and grabbed my son like a hog, and we ran to the shower. I kicked the door down. He is still laughing because this is a fun and exciting game. I stop by the sink, empty my mouth, and right as I'm about to leave, I get hit in the stomach by a flailing leg. Caked in poo and leaving a mark of stink. Shower goes on. I run to the toilet and empty my guts. It might be a good time to mention that I am super sensitive to things like vomit, spit, poop, and whatever gross body stuff. I am very sensitive to this stuff, to the point where my wife helps me if it gets too bad, and I can't change the kids without throwing up. This is why. And she's gone. I run out of the bathroom to look at the damage done and stare in horror. The mound of shit that had disguised itself as a wet mark sitting on our couch. Oh man. I grab a paper towel and pick it up. I run over to the trash can and fling it open, dropping the offender off and throwing up once more before closing the lid. My son is in the bathroom, laughing and playing in the water. The rest of the damage can wait. I need to take care of the kid. I strip my clothes and jump in the shower. He has clogged the drain with his foot and is playing with the floating poo particles. God damn it! I Ralph, making sure I don't hit my kid. First comes off the onesie, and another round of puking starts. Now he starts to cry. This is different. This is new. Diaper comes off and empties right in front of the drain. I kick my feet at it to make it go down, and my son sees this and decided that it's time to kick his feet in the water. Now poop is all over the fucking bathtub, and I'm holding a shit diaper and shit onesie. The front door opens, and I hear my eldest son calling for me. I answer by trying to say, "In here," but it came out, "In here," to which he joyfully repeats as a 3-year-old is wont to do. My wife calls out and I tell her to come in. Her first words weren't, "Are you okay?" or "What's wrong?" And it really helped me realize we are truly married. She asked, "You're not puking on his head, are you?" "No, I'm not." She comes into the bathroom and sees me just exhausted. I tell her about the poop in the room and on the couch, and that I'm trying to clean up the mess in the bathroom before the living room. Also, this is gross as hell. My son gets soap and cleaned off, and my other son gets in because shower time is fun and he likes to take showers and play in the water. I pick up the little one and hand him to his mom, where she is waiting with a towel. We're still talking about the whole thing, She knows how bad it is for me to try to do this. Like I said, I'm not good with body waste stuff. That's when she reached into my beard and pulled out the piece of poop that had lodged itself in there during the ruckus. I immediately started to puke again. I just got out of the shower. I think I'm gonna watch some TV and try not to think about anything for a while. Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Embarrassing Stories, episode 44. Big thanks to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Well, I don't know what's going on round my way, but there were surprisingly few interruptions today. Even the neighbours were slightly quieter than usual. So, good. That's all the work done. Every story is recorded now. I tend to go in reverse order when I'm doing the weekend videos. Monday, Sunday, then Saturday. That way I don't get too lazy and think, well, I've done 2, I guess I could just leave the other one and do that tomorrow. Which I would totally do. But if I do it this way, it means everything gets done and I've got the weekend to myself for the various things I need to do in the weekends. Okay, I'm going to head off for now, because my throat's a bit sore after all that recording, so I'm going to have snacks. I'm going to soothe my sore throat with some snowballs is what I'm going to have. Not actual snowballs. If you've never heard of it, it's basically like a kind of semi-dense cake with jam in the middle, covered in a glaze icing and coconut. Just in case you've never heard of it. Okay, so I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.